The government has announced a 3% pay rise for NHS staff in England. Ministers have accepted the recommendations of the NHS independent pay review body. The government says this will mean an additional £1,000 a year for the average nurse. Let's bring in our chief political correspondent, John Craig. Good evening, John. So, the unions were asking for quite a lot more. How will this be received?
Well, probably not too well, because it's not. This is for NHS staff in England, and in Scotland they have already been awarded 4%, 3% in England, and also in Scotland the pay rise has been backdated to December, whereas in England this pay rise is being backdated just till April. The announcement from the government comes just hours after Helen Whately, the health minister, told MPs they were still considering the recommendations from the pay review bodies. So anyway, we now have the full statement from the government in which they say they've accepted the recommendations of the NHS independent pay review bodies in full for this year. Now, some months ago, the government was saying it could only afford 1%, so they've obviously moved from there. The 3% pay rise for NHS staff in England includes nurses, paramedics, consultants, dentists and salaried GPs. And for the average nurse, as you've said, £1,000 a year. Many porters and cleaners will receive around £540. And the Health Secretary Sajid Javid, who of course has tested positive and is isolating, says NHS staff are rightly receiving a pay rise this year despite the wider public sector pay pause. In recognition of their extraordinary efforts, we ask the independent pay review bodies for their recommendations, and I'm pleased to accept them in full, with a 3% pay rise for all staff in scope, from doctors and nurses to paramedics and porters. Had the government not accepted this recommendation in full, there would have been an almighty row, given all the praise, the clapping for NHS staff during the pandemic. So I guess there will probably be relief in Whitehall that the pay review body did recommend 3%. Not as much as the unions wanted, obviously, but the government will be able to say we have accepted their recommendations in full. We haven't stuck to what we were saying before about 1%. But the unions are bound to say this is a poor offer compared with Scotland. Just to recap, 3% in England, backdated to April. Scotland have already announced 4%, backdated to last December. So a better deal north of the border.